Hi, everyone. Welcome to Prevention Education, the podcast that teaches you everything about prevention. Thanks for listening, and let's get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. So I'm Kylie, and today I have Nick Cook with me. So Nick, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, yeah. So my name's Nick Cook. I work for Preferred Family Healthcare. I work in their prevention department. I'm actually the director of the prevention department, and I oversee several grants within our prevention department that deal with mainly substance use prevention, and mainly within the northern 27 counties of Missouri.
Yes. So Nick has a lot of responsibilities in our department since he is our director. So today, what we're going to try to talk to you guys about is funding opportunities. And as Nick said, we are just funded by grants that we get, and we have multiple different grants right now. And just a few are C2000 or PFS, which stands for Partnership for Success. We also have a Spirit program, which is school-based prevention. And the way that we get all those are through funding. So Nick, what is kind of like one of the main funding resources for prevention efforts?
Well, I don't know if there's a main prevention funding, but there's a lot of opportunities out there for communities and community coalitions that want to deal with substance use prevention, especially those that are wanting to deal with youth substance use prevention. Yeah. And primary prevention at that. So trying to deal with youth that have never used before, targeting those youth. But there are other prevention type grants or funding sources available. And so a lot of people hear that they hear grants and they think, well, you got to have somebody that knows how to write grants, and it's this big elaborate process, and you got to have all this, like a whole team of people. And some of that's kind of true, but it's not that big of a dog. Basically, we actually offer grants that you can write through our department that are very easy to write for. They're up to $5,000 each. Actually, we have some smaller grants too that could be anywhere from a couple $100 to maybe $1,000 or $1,500. And we help the coalitions or the communities actually write for those. The only stipulation is they have to be a registered coalition with the Department of Behavioral Health, Missouri Department of Behavioral Health. And we help them get registered. It's actually a pretty easy process, as long as their main focus is substance use prevention with youth, we can get them registered. And like I say, our staff works with the coalition and helping them write a plan to get that funding. And then there's also different state fundings. There's different state grants that the coalitions can apply for. There's federal funding, federal grants that communities and coalitions can write for. One of the big ones out there, some people may not be familiar with, is called the Drug-Free Communities Grant. It's a federal grant that's overseen. I don't know who oversees that now, if it's ONDCP or SAMHSA, but it's one of the federal agencies. It's $125,000 a year for 10 years. But with that, you have to basically come up with a match. So in the first, I think 4 or 5 years, it's a 1-to-1 match. So basically it's a $250,000 a year grant for the first 5 years. And then that match kind of starts increasing to like a 1.25-to-1 match. And then maybe by year 10, it's a 1.5-to-1 match. But basically it's over $1 million grant over the 10-year period of the grant. And our staff also can help individuals or communities, coalitions write for that grant as well. And basically all these grants are the same. You have to have a plan. First, you have to have some data, that, hey, this is a problem in our community, And each community is different. It's not like they want to force you into a box that you have to do this.
Yeah.
Because every community is different. You know, one community may be dealing with meth, one community may be dealing with alcohol. You know, one community may have a heroin or opioid problem. And these funders know that, you know, and they know that you know the local people know their community the best, and that's why they want to give you these local communities the money, because we want to tackle the problem at a grassroots level, because those individuals know their communities the best. They know it better than I do, but we know some strategies that can help them along the way. So our staff can come in and we can help write for those grants, and we can help you come up with some evidence-based programs, practices, or policies that science shows will make a difference within your community. And we can help you figure out which one of those strategies best fits within your community, or which one, you know, your community is most ready for. And there's a whole process that we go through, but it's something that we can help people out with, walk them through that process, you know, and allow them to get this funding, and it can make a huge impact within their communities.
Yeah.
So there's the grants portion of it, which kind of always frightens everybody, and I'm here to say don't be frightened about it. It's a rather easy process. Sometimes you just got to learn the terminology, and we have a lot of staff on hand that can help individuals with that. So if they ever need any help with that, they can reach out to us, ask us any questions, or, you know, whatever the case may be, and we'll help them the best that we can.
Yeah. I think it's a good point to bring up that people, they hear about funding opportunities and they see them, but they don't want to apply for them because it's a process, or the excuse is, I don't know how to, and I've never done it before, and I'm fine where I'm at. But I think it's really important to have people know that as a prevention resource center, we're here as prevention specialists to help people through that process, and we're the professionals that can do that. And so even though it can be a scary process, it's manageable and it's worth it in the end, because you're saving lives in your community, which is
Definitely,
amazing.
yeah. That's a great point, Kylie. Definitely, and that's what we try to tell people. And we've had a lot of people shy away because they just don't think they're ready for it. And it's like, no, you're ready for it. You're already doing everything that you have to do if you get this grant. It's just, if you apply for the grant and you get it, you're going to get more money to do more things or to build upon what you're already doing. And the DFC grant, and then we could Google some numbers here, but I know when I started 15 years ago, I started within a drug-free communities grant. I was a project coordinator for a little community, Dare County in Missouri, and we started out addressing meth, and we actually applied for and received the drug-free communities grant, and we expanded into some other substances, nicotine, at that time, tobacco, alcohol. We're still targeting meth and marijuana, all in youth. And I don't know the exact numbers, but like they were maybe awarding $70 million a year for DFC grants, and now they're awarding like $450 million a year. So that program, and those are not exact numbers, so don't quote me on that, but they're close, and that's kind of how much it's grown over the last 15 years. The government, it's the best prevention program that they have out there right now. It works because of the processes that they require within that grant, and it's like I say, it's the most successful substance use reduction grant that the government has ever put out, and they just keep adding on to it and adding more money, funding more coalitions, more communities, training more individuals on the proper way to do prevention, and it's just a great program.
Yeah.
So anybody that's looking to take or who wants more money, because it's not really looking to take the next step. There is no next step. If you're doing prevention work, you're doing prevention work. there's not a whole lot of steps, whether you're doing it or you aren't doing it. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I also think I've heard this from a few people too, just working in prevention. Um, Sometimes I think that rural communities they're not big enough for funding opportunities, but it's not the case at all. In fact, like most of the rural communities in Missouri, really around the United States, are probably some of the communities that need this funding the most because their communities are so small, they don't have a whole lot of interaction with bigger cities and they're more isolated. And so getting these fundings to help those rural communities is really important because there's also not much to do in rural communities. So people do resort to some things that aren't healthy for them, such as substance use. And so trying to get the funding to get a coalition going and making a difference in your community is huge, even if it's a town of 500 people. Like it's still possible to get those opportunities in your town.
yeah, that's another great point. And I do hear that a lot, that they're like, well, we're just a small rural town, they'll never fund us. We're not like a bigger, city or something. And that's completely far from the case. Actually, you get a lot of preference points if you're, a more diverse community, or if you're a rural community, you can get certain preference points on a lot of these grants, because they do know that a lot of these communities like that are underfunded, or there's not the resources in place within those communities. So they do want to get them the funding, get them the help, to try to make differences within those communities. Yeah, the drug-free community grant that I had, it was a county grant, rural Adair County, Missouri, has like a little over 20,000 people in the whole county. We have other communities that we work with that, their whole community consists of just a little over 1,000 people, 1,200, 1,300 people that, we award them our mini grants and stuff, so they can do their prevention work too. So yeah, like I said, prevention work. It doesn't matter if, you're in a county of 500 people or 500,000 people. I mean, the programs, practices, and policies that we implement, it's all the same. I mean, there are some variations, depending on, the location of some communities, but prevention works. So
Yeah. I also want to highlight something that you brought up earlier, and it's the mini grants that people can come to us and apply for. And on our website, when mini grant applications are open, they will appear on our website, which is pfh.org/prevention. And also, if you're listening to this and you're interested in something like that, you can email moprevention@pfh.org, and we can kind of answer any questions that people have or just direct them to anything that they need. So,
right. Yeah, that's a good point. The moprevention@pfh.org. It's an email that goes to all of us. So, whoever can best address that question at that time would be the person that responds. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's moprevention@pfh.org.
yes. Yes. Well, is there any kind of final thing that you want to leave the listeners with in regards to funding opportunities?
Yeah, I might just, so grants are a big portion of the funding opportunities in our prevention world, but there's also other avenues that communities can take, and one of those is fundraising. And I know whenever I was a project coordinator, that was one of my big responsibilities, was to figure out how I can get money within our community to help pay for maybe items that the grant wouldn't pay for. And in my ventures doing that, I learned a lot. And it's the one thing that I learned was people want to donate for your cause. And I think that's lost on a lot of communities or a lot of coalitions, that there is a lot of money out there that people want to give you, but they need to know why they're giving it to you. So it's not just going out and holding a bake sale, but it's going out and holding a town hall meeting that, hey, we have done all this work. We know what the problems are within our community. we know why they're a problem, and this is what we're going to do to try to address the problem and try to make a difference. And this is our population of focus, and we want your help, and we want your input. We want you to be a part of the coalition, and we want you to, help make an impact and make a difference. And people will start writing you checks for that.
Yeah.
And there's different ways you can do it, and it's whatever best suits your community. But you can hold like dances, you can hold sales, you can sell T-shirts or goods that represent the coalition. We used to actually go door to door to businesses, and they want to help and be a part, but they can't attend every meeting or they can't be part of every process, but they can help by donating money. So we would just have a conversation with them, maybe a one-page flyer of this is what the coalition is, this is what we do, this is how you can help. This is when our meetings are, this is contact information, you put on the flyer, whatever you want. But then we would ask for a donation from that business. And sometimes it'd surprise you the amount of the checks that we would get that particular day. And then we'd put a sticker on the door to let people know that this individual business is part of the coalition and they support the coalition. We'd keep a list of that. And then we come back every year, and it's just kind of like a support drive, we would call it, where we would go back to these businesses and other businesses and try to get some funding out of them. We sold T-shirts that had different phrases on them that were made by kids for the coalition. And there's all different kinds of things. There's all different organizations that do all different types of fundraisers. You can try to partner with them. You can come up with your own, but I always say each community has a certain amount of money that they're willing to donate, and you need to figure out how you can fit into that donation process and be, take part in that. So that's another thing I would, I would want community coalitions to do is try to come up with some type of fundraising idea within their community to help support their efforts.
Yeah. And I think something that's big with a fundraiser, first, I think people, you hit the nail on the head with this. They think of big sales or just like something really small, but it doesn't have to be like a high school fundraiser. Like you can make it more advanced to fit what you want it to be. And another really key thing is if you can create a fundraiser that's sustainable for the next few years. So like it occurs in May every single year, and it's like a end of the school year, I don't know, like you sell snow cones or something like that. So whereas you can do it every year and the community members can actually start remembering, oh, this coalition did this fundraiser this year and it was really fun. And we brought our kids and brought our friends. And so I want to put that on my calendar for next year. And especially with fundraising too, trying to market that and advertise for that so that people can see and know about it in your community is really important. And there are a bunch of free ways just by posting on Facebook or Instagram, all the social media, or even going like how you guys went door to door. That's amazing. It works. And so even doing a flyer and then putting it on doors or on people's steps, like it just getting the word out in some way so that people know it's coming up so that they can kind of mentally prepare to be there and then see how much they can actually donate and spend before they actually get there that day. So,
right. Yeah, and everybody can think of that, United Way fundraiser or FFA fundraiser or, Boy or Girl Scout fundraiser that happens every year at the same time, right? You got to get ready for it. It's coming. Yeah, definitely. I mean, the Girl Scouts, that comes around once a year. We can't wait for that to come around, right?
exactly.
With the cookies, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's a great point that if you can do something that's the same time every year, if it's the same event, it's even better. People get used to it. They know they plan for it, well, we got to have a little money that we're going to spend with this or no, that's a great point, Kylie.
Yeah, thank you. Are besides fundraising and grants, are there any other avenues that coalitions can go towards or just community entities can go for funding?
Yeah, there's another one would be like wills and trust.
Yeah.
If somebody wanted to put, in their trust or in their will, or in their life insurance plan, those are all possibilities for funding. You see it with like Nature Conservancies. I've seen it with here in our state, the Missouri Department of Conservation. I've seen where people have passed on, but they have left in their will for a certain tract of land to be donated to the Missouri Department of Conservation for whatever purpose. Or,
Yeah.
that's another way if people feel real strongly about, the mission of the coalition or the community and what they're doing, that they can write that in their life insurance policies or put it in their will or something like that. It's another avenue, that people, I just want to make sure they're aware of too. So,
Yeah.
but no, those are kind of the main ones that, I just kind of wanted everybody to be thinking about. Grants, they're out there. There's so many different grants. People just want to give money away.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid to write for them. Fundraising, it's possible in every community. You just got to get out and do it. Make it part of the fabric of your community. And then there's some other ways, but those are the main two that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Yes. Well, if you could sum everything up to your best ability in one sentence and leave whoever's listening with this one thought, what would it be?
Well, that prevention saves lives. And no matter how you can do prevention, do it. It's, if you can volunteer your time, if you can volunteer your resources, try to gain some knowledge, contact us, contact other individuals within your community or your area. But doing prevention with youth, trying to prevent them from ever using, drugs or alcohol, is going to save lives in the long run.
Yeah.
Save a lot of heartache and hardship, save a lot of money. There's just a lot of things that go with it, but we all have that opportunity. There's different ways that we can go about doing it, but if we all take part, I think it's going to make the world just a little bit better place to live.
Yeah. What a great point. And that's our goal every single day, is to save lives in our community. So if you're listening and you want to make a difference, you can save a life and you can start making a difference today in your community. So perfect. Well, thank you guys for listening. And thank you, Nick, for joining me on this podcast. Hopefully you guys will tune in next week or in the future. And if you haven't listened to our other podcasts as well, please be sure to do that. So thank you guys all for listening. Bye, everyone.
See you, everyone.
Thank you guys so much for tuning into our podcast. Remember to follow us on social media at PFH Prevention. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Spotify, and more podcasting platforms. And make sure to email us at moprevention@pfh.org with any questions, and feel free to call us at 660-627-7404. Thanks for joining us and have a great day.